there was a mystery. And the mystery, like every day when we talk of Bongino, who is looking for DP for his bunghole, Dan Bongino was telling us that he was doing something, and then doing something he was not something. And no one knew what the fuck he was talking about, least of all us. So this seems to be, here's why I did, listen to this fucking title. Here's why I did what I did and I'm willing to walk away from my radio show. We still don't know what he did. We just knew that he might not do what he's currently doing, which would be a start. Yes. What's his, Folds of Honor. It's a flag shirt. He wears, like faux patriot stuff all the time. Genuinely patriotic things, worn by a complete ass kiss of Donald Trump, which, I mean, if you believe any of those things, they are absolutely in contrast to Donald Trump as a human being. Regardless if you believe in, like, close up the borders, or we got to stiff arm the Muslims, and blah. Even if you believe that, everything Donald Trump is as a person. Here's a good idea. I'm fairly certain that Bongino is married and has children, and I'm fairly certain he has daughters. Does anyone that isn't missing half their brain think that Dan Bongino would allow his daughters, if he indeed has them, to stay overnight with Donald Trump in the same building without some sort of armed chaperone? Or his wife, for that matter. Would Dan Bongino leave his wife anywhere near Donald Trump? Now, if the answer is yes, then he is willing to sacrifice them to Trump, which is a whole nother level of psychosis that I can't even picture. But I'm gonna guess, in deference to him having any sense whatsoever, like the kind of, just the basic mental acuity necessary to cross the street without being hit and killed by a cab. If he has that, then he can at least put together that, yes, he lives a life being completely full of shit, but only within the envelope of his own personal lack of morals and ethics in relation to Donald Trump. When it comes to his wife and daughters, or even distant cousins who may happen to be female, I think he would make them avoid both Trump and the boys. Yeah. I'm going to guess. That's me being deferential to Bongino in a way that he doesn't actually deserve. But let's see. Let's see what's up. What could possibly be happening? Here's what he did, why he did what he did. When you do what you do, gotta do it.
Nutshell, for those of you on the podcast, a lot of this went down after the podcast, therefore you didn't hear it.
Well, yeah, but we got to watch the clip before from the other thing, and we still didn't know what the fuck was going on. So please tell us what you did when you do what you do, and you do what you do it.
Did hear it on the radio show.
Nobody listens to both. What kind of an asshole listens to you say the same two things, the same one thing twice in a day?
Background. I have a nationally syndicated radio program. I don't work for, but I partner with Cumulus. They own a lot of the stations. They are what we would call a radio syndicator. They put out my 3-hour radio show. It airs live from 12 p.m. Eastern time to 3 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of you already know this. Forgive me.
Yeah, I mean, we know we know who you work for. You work for Cumulus. Where else is your show without Cumulus? Maybe start there. Like, they syndicate my show. Okay, if they weren't syndicating your show, where would it be? Oh, wait, nowhere. Hence the title, Am Willing to Walk Away from My Radio Show. If you have a radio show and you only partner with Cumulus, then you still have a radio show once they fuck off, apparently. Or you fuck off from them, or you both fuck off, or I don't know what big contractual language is. But one would think, right, that you still have a radio show. I still have a radio show without Cumulus. I have a station I go out of, and then I stream it myself. I syndicate my own show. How do you like them apples? And I get to keep all of the pittance. But the only way you can say you're willing to walk away from your radio show, and yet at the same time you only partner with Cumulus, is that they are a 97.3% partner, and the other 3% is you and your basement.
Litigating it, but we have a lot of new listeners today interested in this story.
No, you don't. You do not. I don't know where the fuck that came from. That's totally made up. Nobody is now tuning in. You know that guy I never listened to who I don't give a shit about? Yeah, he might lose his show. Well, I've got to find out about this.
So I partner with Cumulus. Okay.
No. They syndicate your show because they have a gap where Rush was, and they put you in like the douchebag markets.
Cumulus, for some reason, thought it was a good idea a little while ago to institute a vaccine mandate for the company.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because you obviously are a partner with them, and you don't use their studios. You just deliver a signal to them. So you technically, as a partner, don't have to do that. You would, if you don't have a contract with them as talent, you would not have to follow any of that stuff, unless, of course, you don't have the two nickels to rub together to get a microphone and a fucking clean feed subscription.
Well, I had some ongoing communications with them. I strongly objected to this, and
they told you, yeah, we just carry your radio show. What the fuck are you talking about?
Once people started getting let go and moved around, I felt like it was my responsibility at Cumulus to stand against it. You know, folks.
At Cumulus, the fuck are you talking about? You partner with them. I mean, what I would, since you're a partner with Cumulus, I just straight up do the macho thing and, do a leverage buyout. I mean, they're your partner or whatever. Fire your partner. Take over the company. But take it on the heel and toe, Wozniak, as said Bongino never.
Talking is one thing we got to do. I can't just go on my show and tell you guys to do stuff and then just be a talker myself. I've never been that way. I left my last job to go run for office because I believed in it. Didn't work.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you would never, by the way, when he tells his audience to fail miserably at normal things, understand he's failed miserably at normal things. And that's way to put your noggin where your 5 eggs are. 5 eggs! All right.
But, action matters. Talk is cheap. There's a lot of talkers. There's a lot of bull.
Well, no, if talk is cheap, then obviously you told Cumulus that you'll do your show for free as long as they carry it, and you won't come into the studio or be around any other employees until mandates are lifted due to herd immunity.
Hitters, if you know what I mean.
No.
I'm not into that.
Are you not into it in like the way Trump isn't into golden showers? Meaning that he doesn't like being peed on himself, but he did tell the hookers to pee on the bed because Obama slept there and he's a petty fuck. Anyways, go ahead. I
got 46 going on 47 years on the planet. I learned a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm 52. And apparently I didn't realize till now how valuable those 5 years in difference between us actually is. Maybe there's still hope for you.
You know, the most valuable quote I ever heard, right? The natural. I've said it a couple times. We all live 2 lives, the one we learn from and the one we live after that.
I see. So you have yet to live life number 2 yet. I see. Okay.
The real path to happiness is through suffering.
All right. So you're a masochist or a sadist or something.
Sometimes we got to suffer a little bit.
Shit. Now he's going to put on a gimp hood and do the rest of the show that way. I'm creeped out already.
Well, I'm in that second life right now. I learned a lot of my mistakes in the first one. I learned thousands of ways not to do things. I learned.
And yet there's always more.
Wasn't for me. Politics. I learned what was for me. Activism and action.
And by activism and action, because action is worthwhile, talk is cheap. That's why he sits in front of a microphone for a living instead of running for office again and actually getting elected and like writing bills and focusing on things. Also, talk is not cheap. Ask any preacher.
Needs to motivate action. So I went on the air on Cumulus's radio stations yesterday, and I let them know that I am objecting to their vaccine mandate, and I gave them an ultimatum, and the ultimatum to Cumulus, which would not be penalty free to me, which is fine. That's part of the deal, is that they can have me or they can have the vaccine mandate, but they can't have both.
Gee, have this asshole who's just filler until we find a Rush Limbaugh person. Oh, yeah. Is Hannity still vaxxed? He works at Fox, right? They have a vaccine mandate, right? Okay. Does he want the noon to 3? No, he didn't have to do a whole new 3. He could we'll just re-air it. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry. You were fired? What you were saying?
I didn't expect the story to go viral. It did. I certainly wasn't doing it for any kind of a public relations thing. I don't need
Yeah, you were, and it didn't.
any of that, obviously, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, my Twitter was completely blown up with, "Dear God, Bongino might lose his Eastern Time noon to 3 Cumulus gig because he's posturing as an anti-vaxxer." Criminy.
Not interested in any of that. And it's kind of hilarious to watch liberals and fake discredited slobs on the Republican side.
Fake discredited slobs? They were discredited, but it was a fake discrediting, or they're fake and discredited. You really need to start speaking your apostrophes. Your commas at this point. Yeah.
Their class. Stunned. So what did they do yesterday? Of course, the left, in an effort to discredit what I'm doing, and the anti-Trump grifter crowd, because that's what they do. They're grifters. Because they have no principles, what they want to do, the left and the grifters, is the left have to take down people who stand on principle.
No, you're taking yourself down. You're the one removing yourself from the airwaves. What the fuck did any of us have to do with it? Cumulus has this policy. Most of their talkers are right wing. They have jettisoned, because of quite frankly their investors and the influence of those investors. They've jettisoned any kind of liberal leaning talk at all. So you're quitting. No one is muzzling you, fucko. You just started this with, "I'm going to walk off the job because of Cumulus's mandate," which is probably a get vaccinated or get tested once a week.
You understand why they're doing that, right?
No, because if 2 negatives make a positive, Cumulus would be kicking you off the air and we would be trying to get you back on. And granted, from a self-serving standpoint, you're fucking hilarious. Don't get me wrong. Like, I struggle to thank God for Glenn Beck, or I would struggle daily to find someone who has as dumb a take on things, but is that convinced they're amazingly right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Diamond and Silk say stupid shit. Glenn Beck, says stupid shit. Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson say stupid shit. But no one tops Bongino's "I told you so" egotism about shit he's actively wrong about. Not like days later you find out it was wrong. Like, he puts up his own, he'll show you a clip or show you an article and misread it right in front of you, or play something and go, "Do you hear what he said? I'm going to say he said the opposite of what he said." It's amazing.
Because they want you to believe that you don't really have to stand on principles. You should just pay them first. It's all a grift. That's really the grifter.
Pay who first? Cumulus? I think they do. I think it's ad based. I don't know that.
The left side, the left has never had a principle ever. So they remind me of that kid. I grew up with this kid once who, sometimes I would.
Was his name Bologna Sandwich?
Home, and they'd be like, "Why are you going home?" I said, "Because my mom said I had to be home for dinner." And they'd be like, "Yeah, but what? You could just lie to her and say we got lost on the way home." Like, they were so stunned I went home because my mother told me to be home for dinner. Because
oh God. How many believe that kid who said "lie to your mom and hang out with us" is somehow a left-wing activist right now? That kid was Barry Obama. Come on, smoke with me in my cool hat. Just lie to your mom.
never listened to them, that they were shocked. They didn't understand it. That's why the left is so puzzled by my decision to potentially leave a nationally syndicated radio show I love doing on principle. Because
no one is puzzled by this. It's either a contract negotiation tactic and therefore bullshit. You don't make that much and the rev share is fucked up and you think you've got enough of a draw to move them over to your podcast, and therefore you take away more of the ad rev on that, and you can drive traffic because of fucking your stake in Getter or whatever the shit, any right-wing stuff like that, and you just know that there's an audience for it there, and they're not paying you anything. So you just, yeah, it's a publicity stunt, precisely.
Left doesn't have any principles. They never did. These are zeros. These are...
Well, I mean, depending on what you determine the left to be, obviously, if you're talking about Stalin, I can't help you there. But, I would be one of those people who never calls for violence on people, even if I disagree with them. Never wished COVID on anyone, even if they were one of these people who are like horrible anti-vax, anti-maskers, pro-horse-paced assholes. No, not going to wish it on them. That would be a principle. I don't shit on the military just for political points the way Trump does, for example. And I would never cradle the balls of someone who does the way you do with Trump. So just a couple of examples where I have principles that are superior to yours. But please continue.
Losers. They don't stand for anything.
Well, I mean, we'll get there. By the way, in case you're listening to this later, he's podcasters. He's sitting.
This country, they hate you, and they object to the fact that anyone standing on principle like myself and many others, I'm not in this alone. Southwest employees, I got video of that coming up. A bunch of police officers who have a lot to lose. They object to that because their lives are meaningless voids of emptiness. They don't stand for anything. These are...
Well, obviously there would be a concern on those people's part that people in service positions, especially ones that work for the state or the government, they can encounter any member of the public at any time, and often against their will. So a police officer comes to your door. Now, granted, if they have a search warrant, you have to let them in. There's 6 or 5, or a few of them, or they're across the street, and you lean out the door. What's going on? We're talking to this. You have no idea if the cop that's going in there to do the search or the cop that's talking to you in your doorway is carrying COVID because they refuse to get vaxxed against it. And because they refuse to get vaxxed again, if they do have it, their viral load is way higher. So they have a higher, there's a statistically higher chance that they could pass the disease to you than if they had been vaccinated, according to the current science. But, fuck that.
Losers. These are life losers. Their lives mean nothing, and they want your life to mean nothing too. And when your life means something and you stand on principle, they are so deeply disturbed because they got to wake up and look themselves in the mirror and say, that's not me.
Yes, this has been the reaction of all my liberal friends at the possibility that Dan Bongino would walk away from his noon to 3 Cumulus syndicated radio slot and stick to podcasting. Honestly, I got to go back to bed.
So the conspiracy theorists left and the grotesque grifter right, of course, came out with a couple of myths. Myth number 1.
Myth number 1. Who this year he won the swimsuit competition. All right.
That I'm only attempting to stand for the employees being let go in the vaccine mandate at Cumulus and forfeit my show because the ratings are bad.
Where would they ever get that idea?
That's hilarious.
Well, show us the ratings. Show them.
Listen, I don't talk about ratings specifically on the radio for a number of reasons. They're not...
Because they're not good?
Something cryptic or secret. It's just, I have a lot of friends in the business, and it's gauche to do that.
It's gauche? It's gauche. Gauche? That's a thing where you grow a big thing on your neck, a goiter or something like that? Gauche? Is that the French version of gout? You mean gauche? You mean to the left, à gauche, à droite, à gauche. Gauche? Jesus.
But I assure you, I assure you.
You don't have to assure me. Just show me.
If it was a ratings issue and we weren't blowing up the airwaves like we are, don't you think someone would have leaked that by now?
I don't know. It may be that no one gives a shit.
Of course, if you're the left, you're just too stupid to figure that out. And again, because
Or again, we figured out that nobody gives a shit.
you have no principles, you're always looking for an ulterior motive because that's your entire life, looking for the easy way out because you're losers. You're life losers. You've lost it everything. You don't stand for anything and you never will.
That's weird. You know, I guess I just did every AIDS walk in the country twice for exercise. Now I don't believe in exercise either. Yeah. I mean, here I am childless with a child. You know, I certainly don't further my education every day. And I suppose, you know, I could read more than, 2 books a week, but I just don't have the drive. He's right. I'm a life loser. I can't even joke about that. That's fun. All right.
No dignity, no courage, no spine. And you want to justify your dignityless, no courage, no spine existence.
Mm-hmm.
You want to...
Well, I mean, or you could show us your ratings. Just show it and go, see how well we're doing? We're doing so good. I didn't want to show them before because it shows Brian Kilmeade's numbers just suck butt, but I have to make my point.
Justify it by proving everybody else lives a soulless life like you do.
Well, no, not everybody, just you. I mean, we're being very specific right now. I mean, I'm amazed we even give a shit. I'm stunned.
Ratings issue is hilarious. We have the opposite problem. The ratings.
You have the opposite. The ratings are too good. Yes, that's a problem. You know, when the ratings are so good, like we could never leave. You know, if they were, I'm just saying, if it was the opposite problem, if the ratings were too good, one would think that Cumulus would change their entire policy just to keep you. That would be the very definition of the ratings are too good.
And amazing.
And then, of course, because they changed the policy, a bunch of their employees die of COVID because fuckos like you don't care. Right.
That's why it's not easy to potentially walk away from this.
No, it's not easy to walk away from this because you'd be violating your contract. And you probably owe them money. You have to pay back some of the money they'd advanced you on some of it or something along those lines. Also, your show doesn't go anywhere without them. So it's just gone.
Second, is it some kind of a contract thing? Folks, again, you don't think that would have leaked by now? Oh, man.
No, I don't. I've been to the Cumulus offices. There's barely anyone there.
Its contract is up. Really? The show is only, what is it, 5-6 months old? I don't even know. We're at 21 weeks of shows. Yes,
Oh, I see. So you're still in the trial zone, and they don't have to actually pick you up until after 5 or 6 months. They got like a 6-month window to renew you, and they're not going to. And they told you they're not going to. So you're starting this pissing fest in the last couple of weeks so that you can have an excuse why you didn't stay. It wasn't because the show's failing. I get it. I see. All right, good. All right.
Joe, I signed a 22-week radio contract.
Unusual, very unusual.
Yeah, very. Joe's been in the radio business 30 years. Very unusual, he says. 22 weeks, 22 and a half. Show ends next Wednesday. Again, you're a leftist. I get it. You know, you live a vacuum of a life. You have no dignity or courage.
You seem really upset. You do realize that no one on the left gives a rat fuck about this. Honestly, I only clicked on this because I knew even less of what the fuck you were talking about yesterday.
So you want everyone else not to have any courage too. I understand what you're doing. The other one is that.
Well, that's because you're projecting and you're soulless and spineless and have no ethics. And so you, of course, believe the rest of the world does that. And because you're, you have a sort of hero worshiping complex with Donald Trump, you have to project all your awful traits onto the other side because if you looked at them introspectively, it would also judge your feelings towards Trump, and that would just make you recognize your own weakness and his weakness, and that would cause a psychological schism that would have you drinking Woolite in an alley. So,
oh, he's just doing it for himself. I'm vaccinated, you idiots on the left. I have
Yeah, I know, because you're on Fox. You do Fox regularly.
lymphoma. I have cancer. I got the vaccine early because I was high risk.
Mm-hmm.
My decision has no impact on my stance. I am not even subject to the mandate because I'm already vaccinated. I'm doing it
But your staff isn't.
for other people who don't have the oomph, the leverage, or the ability, and weren't in the high risk category I am.
Well, they would be able to opt out if they had a physical reason to do it. They could obviously work in radio. They could work remotely, which it sounds like your producer is if he's not in the room or in the next room.
No, leftists don't understand any of that. I'm not anti anything. I'm anti mandates, and I'm anti people being fired for not having sovereignty over their own bodies.
Well, they have sovereignty. They just not here. It's a private company, I suppose.
I know leftists, it's hard for you to understand. And I know.
Yes, leftists are really they just can't let go of that whole private corporations can make their own rules.
Obese, skin-filled bags of onion rings and lard like Jonah Goldberg from the Dispatch, a grotesque human being who really needs to comb his hair and wear deodorant once in a while. And as I said,
whoa, what was this? What was that edit? What happened there?
Berg from the Dispatch, a grotesque human being who really needs to comb his hair and wear deodorant once in a while. And as I said,
what was that? Yeah, Jonah Goldberg's a leftist. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting cut there. He was looking away there was something going on either in his ear or he had to use the potty.
Who really needs to comb his hair and wear deodorant once in a while. And as I said,
edit and then leaves and comes back. Okay.
This skin-filled, rotting bag of onion rings. This
skin-filled, rotting bag of onion rings. Skin-filled. All right.
City, Jonah Goldberg. Mm-hmm. He thought it was funny that I stood on principle. And it's not surprising because when you're Jonah Goldberg, a laughingstock, a joke of a human being amongst that small class of human beings who know you, and you're a career grifter, of course you'd find it funny.
Well, I don't know Jonah Goldberg's stance on this or whatever, so this just might be grifter on grifter crime between you two guys.
Of course you'd find the whole thing funny because you've never stood on a principle for your entire life. You're a humiliation to anyone who knows you, anyone who's been around you. And when I see you in the green room in Fox, you'll typically lower your head in shame because you're a coward.
Or you're a menacing fuck who always walks around and bros everybody because you look like a hostile bastard everywhere you go. G'day. Hi, Carrie.
And you work with that other chump loser, Kevin Williamson. Again, you guys are just you're nothing but leftist hacks posing as conservatives.
Okay. By the way, I try not to interrupt when they go after the rhinos and stuff like that. I mean, this is sweet. Keep this up. Don't let me slow you down.
Because the grift is good for you. That's all you are. You and Stephen Hayes and that class of losers. That's all you are.
Stephen K. Hayes, the ninjutsu instructor? I wouldn't fuck with that dude. He can throw down a smoke bomb and gone.
Losers.
So you're saying they're losers. Okay.
Folks, it's about body sovereignty. It's always been about bodily sovereignty to me.
Well, then why are you okay with the Fox mandate? You're still going on Fox, right? You've been going on Fox. They've had a mandate for a while. And you don't even have a contract with them. You just go on and do the shows. But you go in the building and you have to be vaccinated to go in the building. Because you'll stand on principle when it's apparently a radio contract that they're ready to broom you from and nobody gives a rat's ass. But I mean, you can't, without Fox, how are you going to draw people's attention to the podcast when that's all you've got now? So you obviously stand on principle when it comes to Cumulus, but at Fox, you just pretend there is none. I see. Okay, good.
It's not about a vaccination.
No.
This is a liberal move. Liberals know if they can take control of your body and what you're allowed to put in it and what you're not, and they can mass fire people.
Uh-huh.
that their move towards tyranny is complete.
Yeah. So again, more right-wing hyper paranoia. This is kind of dovetails very well into our Glenn Beck continuing descent into paranoid delusion. And did you notice how that entire Bongino video was just all him calling people losers and saying they have no life because of a decision he was making about a company that hired or he works for, while all the while still going to Fox. Fox, which has a mandate for all of its employees, no excuses. Cumulus does one. All of a sudden, he's like, I have to take a stand. Fox does it. It's like, what time are we shooting the 5? Can I get on Gutfeld this week? You guys got an opening? Is there any way that Maria Bartiromo or Tucker can bring me on to do a segment? I need to push my podcast. Sure, no problem, Dan. Douche baggery. And by the way, don't forget, he's against big tech, which is completely owned by the Democrats. And Zuckerberg, forget about it. Like, I mean, don't even. Yeah, I mean, understand. He knows who the good ones are.